What's up guys, it's National Master Dem Apples here, back with another video, and today we'll be taking a look at the opening that all chess grandmasters play. Now this might be a huge statement, and it definitely is, but in my opinion, this is the opening that we see all the time, and it's not even really close at the high level. So, to understand why this opening is played so much at the high level, we have to understand the 2000 Chess World Championships. And it's between these two players. You might have heard of them, Garry Kasparov and Vladimir Kramnik. I mean, Vladimir Kramnik making a lot of headlines now in chess, but at the time he was the World Championship challenger, and Garry Kasparov was known to be like the best player by a long shot, but Vladimir Kramnik thought he could beat him, and eventually he did end up beating him and becoming a world chess champion. So you also have to understand the mind of top chess players. When they're playing with white, they want to apply pressure on you as black, and if they're lucky, well, maybe they can win. But usually it's a draw. Like, I'd say 2/3, 3/4 of the time it's a draw. More like 2/3. But, you know, if you're white, you want to apply pressure. If you're black, you just want to defend. A draw is pretty much a win for you. It's like Armageddon. So you have to understand, when Vladimir Kramnik is playing black in this game, he wants a draw. And so when he wants a draw, he goes e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. This is the Roy Lopez, and he goes knight to f6. Now, this line was not played much back in the year 2000, but now we're seeing it a lot. So Kasparov here castles. Now, this allows some forced moves, which is knight takes pawn, d4. This is all theory. Rook e1 is also a move, but it doesn't do too much after knight to d6. Bishop f1 because the bishop is attacked, and bishop e7. Black is perfectly fine. There's a lot more theory on this, but the thing is, it's like all symmetrical too, so white really doesn't have much chances here. So d4 to give white some chances. Knight d6, and bishop takes c6 is played. Pawn takes, knight f5, takes, and knight c3. I mean, this is still played at the high level now. Now, what we got into here is the Berlin endgame, and let's take a look at it for a second, right? Black has two doubled pawns here, and he has the bishop pair in exchange. Now, you might say, well, black's king is open, he can't castle, and he's got doubled pawns, and it's an endgame. This has to be good for white. And in theory, this should be good for white, but in practice, it's really not. The bishops actually have their say. And so let's see some of the Berlin strategies. Knight c3, and my friend Elijah Logazar made a course on this on Chessable, which you should check out. But bishop d7. And what black usually does here is just run his king over and just sit and wait until all hell burns over, pretty much. Because, really, white can't do anything. So Kasparov tries pawn to b3. Nice voice crack. Pawn h6. It's just a waiting game, right? Black is just trying to prevent anything white does. Now white can't go knight g5 or bishop g5. And so here. And then oftentimes for black, a theme is to go c5, b6, hide the king on b7, and put the bishop on c6 where it's pretty active. We will see him do this. Oh, wow. Knight e7 first, though. To go knight g6, applying pressure on the pawn in e5. The moves aren't exactly important. You can just see that Kasparov's just trying so hard, right? He's maneuvering his knights. He's getting ready to play pawn to f4, like the aggressive Kasparov he is. He's not quite ready. Goes c4, a5, a4, h4, knight c3. Like, they're just all shuffling. Knight gets to d5, king gets to b7. He's putting weird pressure on this pawn. As you can see, Kasparov is really struggling to break through, and these pawns are actually controlling a lot of squares here. And this bishop is controlling a lot of annoying squares, and this bishop even. And this rook is applying some weird pressure, and it's really, really weird, because you feel like white should be better, but for some reason white isn't. In fact, if white isn't careful, black will end up with a win. And after knight f5, blockading this square, with having pushed his pawn all the way up here, there's no way that white can boot black's knight, because if he does, black will take en passant. So, with this blockading knight set in, white really has no chances to win. Black has very few chances to win as well. And so, again, as we said, for black, a draw is a win at this level. Now, Vladimir Kramnik was not a one-trick pony. He actually played this multiple times, and I'll show you another game he played with the Berlin defense. E4, E5, blah, 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 blah. We have the exact same thing. And we get into this endgame again. This time, Kramnik plays pawn to H6, preventing anything from getting to G5 first, and goes king to E8. It's worth noting here that if he tried bishop D7 and king C8 like he did in the last line, this is not good because his knight is practically trapped. Like, he would like to go knight E7, right? But knight E7 doesn't work because of E6. And now after pawn takes, knight E5, and this is game over. Everything's just falling apart. So just a nice tactic there. So king E8, and A5 is played. I don't know about this move. It's very interesting. Bishop F4, but it doesn't matter because everything here for black is so solid. And so G4, knight D4, knight D5. You got a nice blockading square. And at the end of the day, black has the bishop pair, and he's not afraid to use it. White might have overextended a bit, like in the future. I don't know. Takes, takes. He loses the bishop pair back. But black has incredible synergy. Look, he's got an active dark squared bishop, and his pawns on light squares, although they look weak, right? This one's isolated. This one's doubled. But they do a great job controlling black's weak squares. And white's bishop is, I mean, it looks good, but then it's just blocked by its own pawn. So is it really that good? I don't know. And so, you know, as per usual, right, black is controlling all of the infiltration squares. White just can't do anything. And, you know, I mean, I'm glossing over a lot of the moves. It's pretty deep, and I don't quite understand it. The Berlin is really deep. But, all you have to know is that it's really solid if black controls all the penetration squares. And, yeah, the game ends in a draw yet again, Kasparov being unable to crack the Berlin. He was unable to crack it for 2 more times. And because this was a world championship match, this brought some light, you know, to some of the top players at the time. And they were like, ooh, we can make easy draws with this. We should just play the Berlin, right? And some people playing from the white side were like, you know, I just kind of want to draw, and we'll call it a day. And if you're playing with black, you're fine with that because a draw is a win. And so let's go on to what most grandmasters play. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6. All of this we have seen before. After knight takes pawn, D4, knight D6, attacking the bishop. And in the Kasparov games, we saw bishop takes knight. The other option you have here is after it takes to sacrifice your bishop. Now that looks really weird, and the first time I saw this, I was like, what? But it kind of makes sense, because after takes, A4, the knight is trapped. And so, now, most players play knight D4 here. There is a case to be made that D6 is a move, but it really isn't. Like, you could maybe take here. Engine is telling me that E6 and bishop G5 are moves, but for the most part, top players do not play D6. I guess it's a way that where you could say I'm playing for a win. But from here, it's actually a forced draw. Knight to D4, giving the knight back, because you're gonna have to, your knight is trapped, bro. Like, just give it up already. Takes, takes, and now what black needs to control some of the center. So he goes pawn to D5, staking out some central space for himself, and usually white takes en passant, because en passant is forced, obviously. Queen takes pawn, and now, incredibly, the players just shuffle moves. Like they're queens. Like, what? Okay, and queen D4, queen E6, queen E4. And it's a draw. Like, now, every time I see this, I'm like, really? Is this what chess has come to? But if you're playing black, you gotta empathize with them, right? Like, if you're in their situation and you need a draw, and a draw is practically a win for you, you're gonna go for this. Now, there are ways that you can try to play for a win, like here. Instead of taking en passant, you can go knight c3, right? But after c6, here, we see the same problem, right? You gave black the bishop pair in this line. And so, like, he can go h5 if he wants, or g6 maybe. And you are never breaking through because your bishop is just bad. And, in fact, black might have chances to steamroll you in the future, in the center. Other options, let's say queen e4 check. Let's say white checks with the rook. This just gives black an excuse to develop his bishop, right? And the more the position opens up, say queen e4, castles queenside, white has to worry about not getting pawn stormed here. And soon the bishop pair will have a say. The bishop pair is really good. And so knight c3, and black is a bit better, I would say. queen d4. Again, you don't have to trade queens. Instead, you can go queen f3, but bishop d6, and black is just going to play like a normal game. He's going to castle, and he's eventually, still, his bishop pair is going to have a say. So against whatever he does, black will develop this bishop and castle and be chilling. And so this is why a lot of grandmasters choose to go for the draw here. And I hope this video improved your understanding of this really complex opening and why grandmasters would bore you with this interesting line. But you can thank this man, Vladimir Kramnik, for it. Of course, if you want to play for a win after knight f6, you can play pawn to d3, protecting your pawn and not going into any shenanigans. But that's for another time when I review the really Lopez. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye.